Welcome to the Thursday, June 11th edition of Thursdays with Mike. Mike is a happy guy right now because we're recording about an hour later than we normally do, simply because the Fever played tonight and it took overtime, but they won. So, unlike last night when I was talking to a fantastic Benton community friend of mine, Travis Krug, who's a huge Spurs fan and watched the Spurs uh, tonight, at
Yeah.
least, I'm talking to somebody who is happy for his team. Welcome, Mike.
Pleasure to be with you again, Steve. Yes, and yay for the Fever. It was a game. We were going to talk, and I said, "Can we talk a little later? Probably be ending about 8:15." No, it went to what, 8:45 or so with that overtime. The TV guys were saying something about, well, this other game is going, and they're probably at halftime now, but they're playing out the end of the Fever Chicago game. A good game. Good
Yeah,
game.
there's no one in the NBA that's going to, WNBA is going to cut away from the Fever. I'm sure, like, I haven't looked that up, but I'd be hard pressed to believe there are many teams that get higher ratings than the Fever do. So, um,
Yeah.
and the Fever
Looked like
versus
Gainbridge was
Chicago.
full.
So,
Anyway.
um, okay, so our topic for tonight is discussing the role of spouses, the role of family, and like the toll that it takes on somebody who, it can be true for sports as well. If you're a coach coaching a lot, so forth. But I'm well aware of just I'm well aware, but I've never lived it. So that's why I wanted to talk to Mike about what it was like in the world of theater where you're dedicating so much of your time away from your family. So
Well,
I'm
there
throwing a
there's
softball
some
across the plate to you. Where do you want to go with this?
there are some teachers who their kids are raised in the theater. They take their kids, to rehearsals, and the cast members take care of the kids, watch over them, play with them, whatever, and so forth. I was lucky enough that my wife was a coach. Linda was a coach. She coached basketball, track, and so forth. Her day kind of ended at supper time, and so when I was gone in the evening, she took care of the kids. So I missed a lot of my kids' evening hours during rehearsal time. But I think people don't realize, especially for the speech or theater teacher, because they tend to be English teachers. So not only do you have your daily classroom load, then you've got your rehearsal load. And if you're like I was, the one person department, that means you're designing the set, building the set, possibly doing the costumes, although I did have some help with that with a parent, and then rehearsing the show. So you'd go to school at 8 o'clock in the morning. Then after school, it's time to build set. So you build set from 4 o'clock till 6 or 7. Um, Maybe grab a bite to eat or eat potato chips or something like that, and then start
Oh, we
rehearsal and
had
rehearse till
we had
10.
the
And then,
it was a big deal in Benton community when the fast stop or whatever it was came a half a mile away from school. So either somebody had a bicycle or somebody would run down or somebody had a car that we'd do a big order like what all do you want? And we would order, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
a whole bunch of
And
healthy deep fried food because that's what we do in Iowa.
oh, well, I guess I did read, if you're eating a lot of chips and salsa and so forth, you can lose weight if that's the only thing you eat and you're being active. But it's when you eat, the meal and then the chips and salsa, that's not a good combination. But for the English teacher, layer on top of that your teaching load, which is not only the classroom, but a lot of times papers. And if you have 4 classes of the same topic, I kept saying I'm never going to assign the same paper assignment, writing assignment to all 4 classes at once. Well, it was impossible for me to do. I won't say it's
Mhm.
impossible to do. It was impossible for me to do because that means you've got to have, each class planned differently. So this class's paper comes in this week, but these other 3 classes are going to be doing something else. And then this class's paper is going to come in this week because then you've got that paper load to go home and read. I will say this for teachers today, because at least here at West Delaware, where I used to sub, papers are all submitted on computer. I'm talking about the days when papers are submitted
Oh
on
yeah.
paper and you had to decipher the hand scrawl or the handwriting or whatever it was of every student. So there are students who had nice penmanship, which they don't teach today. And there were students like, you remember Matt Schlew, great kid. Loved Matt. He was one of my go-to persons. He had the most horrible handwriting
I actually
in
remember
the
him
Western.
saying, I never saw his handwriting, but I actually remember him saying that he had chicken scratches.
Oh,
I
it
remember
was.
that.
Yeah, he could read it, and it just took a while. So if you have 100 papers come in or 125 papers come in, and you spend 10, 15 minutes on each one, do the math.
Right.
The outside of class time is horrible, and teachers then were certainly not paid enough for all that time.
Yeah.
And today it's better, but you're really not paid enough, and you're certainly not paid enough in respect for what they have to do to carry that load. When I went to the laboratory school at the university, so I taught for two years at Price Lab School, Northern University High School, Price Lab School, University of Northern Iowa. I still did the set and the shows, but I didn't have speech. So I didn't have that layered on because the Springs Play and speech contest happened at the same time.
Hmm.
So that meant you might be, down in the theater watching over set construction and working with a speech kid at the same time and doing the rehearsal at night and the school prep, the classroom preparation. So I was able to get out of the speech. And when I got to Jefferson High School 2 years later, we had a technical director and two directors. We had four people actually, two in tech and two directors. So Bob Geider would do costumes when I was directing, and I would do publicity. And well, he did costumes all the time and directed. So he costumed and directed the shows, and I directed my shows and did the publicity, marketing, and so forth, all of that. So we kind of shared those things. And then we had a technical director, and I worked with some fine tech people, which took that whole burden off and made a little more time then to handle the classroom and so forth.
Yeah. You weren't
So
required to do
what
absolutely
people don't
everything.
understand, but yeah, people don't understand that there are tons of hours that teachers put in. So the thing about, we laugh, summer is not a vacation. Summer is a crash and burn, right? It's a recuperation. It's time for the phoenix to rise from the ashes because you've been working really hard. And if even if you're not doing that, coaches likewise, right? Well, they're not just working the football practice and then the games. They're probably spending time looking at tapes, right? Looking at film, watch what the other team is doing, scouting, and trying to figure out what to do to handle that next game, as well as their teaching load. Not too many of them are English teachers. Some
Right.
may be,
Right.
but when you're doing that, but social studies teachers might have a paper load. Nobody knows what that teacher has to handle unless you're in that role or have a way to observe them. So I think it's just a case of people understanding, yeah, teachers are out there earning their money.
Right. And you know, uh yeah, I've just sorry, I just my mind just flipped to politics for a second there, where it's possible Iowa can have a governor that has literally created commercials saying F you to public school teachers in Iowa, which just I blows me away that that's even a possibility. I don't think he's going to win. Although for anybody who's part of anybody who's watching this who's from Iowa, I have to say that Zach Lane's cock rings have done wonders for me. It's unbelievable. I'm so glad the company that he invested in, it's done. It is I owe him so much because that the app that goes with it. Oh, Zach, I'm in your corner. Okay. Um,
You're telling me something I have no idea what you're talking about. This is the
oh,
company he's invested in.
that's 100% true. The guy who may be the future governor of Iowa invested in a sex toy company of which their number one product is a cock ring. That's 100% true. Not that is
Well,
not made up.
Zach Lane, the candidate, I'm learning now, I guess, has his residence in Kansas. And just recently, he claims to be an Iowa resident because he bought his mother's farm in Belle Plaine
Yeah.
two years
He's
ago.
claiming residence in my home county, of which there's nobody in Belle Plaine who knows it's totally made up. It's
Yeah,
anyhow, that's not what we're here to talk about. But anyhow,
no.
I'm in your corner, Zach. Anyhow. Uh so
Right. By the way, Steve's humor, you've got to understand the irony of things he says.
I I look, I was following that closely on election night because I didn't I yeah, anyhow, I I love the fact that Trump endorsed somebody that didn't win. That makes I and just today, the president said that he was misinformed, that he should have that it had he been told what Lane's real views were, he would have endorsed Lane. He was misinformed. So that's the reason he didn't endorse Lane. So there you go. Um, but back to your life as a theater. So you were lucky because what the things that Linda was involved with got her involved at a time
At a
slot
different
that,
time.
you're able to switch off the kids. You're able to switch off the
Yeah.
kids, so forth. But
Or good babysitting when they were young that could
Mhm.
cover some of those hours. And then, when they get old enough and they're involved in stuff too. Um, yeah, it's tough. Or your kids get old enough, they become latchkey kids.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I don't know where you lived in at the other places, but I mean, where you lived in Newhall, it was 100% safe. Like I I don't know. I suppose I'm sure you when you say latchkey, I'm sure you locked your front door, but you probably didn't need to because everyone knew your house and what cars should be there and what cars shouldn't be there. And if anybody did anything to your house in Newhall, that you were on a public enough street that somebody would have known, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm probably like most places. Yes, the front door is locked. Why? Because we didn't use it.
right, right. Um,
The side door was not.
I lived I lived in my house in Cedar Rapids for 5 years, and I have a very nosy neighbor across the street. Nosy in a good way. Like I like her. It's not negative, but I never locked my back door because I seriously no need. Because my neighbor knew when I had people to visit, she was like, "Oh, I see your friend Mike came to visit. I have a friend. Anyhow, I see Mike was here last night. Tell him hi for me." I mean, that's the level that she watched my house. So I knew anybody who ever robbed my house, she's going to be able to give me the license plate number of somebody who robbed my house. But that's what Newhall was. Um,
But
back.
but that's an interesting comment.
Go ahead.
That's an interesting comment on small town, growing up in small town.
Hmm.
That at that time, there was a time when we probably had four cars because of having kids that were driving. Linda, me, Jocelyn, Casey. Caitlin wasn't old enough to drive yet. Everybody had to have a car because nobody kept the same
Right.
activities, right? They're all doing their own thing. And I would say, if anybody needed a car, they could probably go to our driveway, and one of those cars would have keys in it, if not all of them. In fact, when we moved to Cincinnati, it took me a long time to convince Linda not to leave the keys in the car. But I don't know that that's true today in small town Iowa. Maybe it is. I don't know. You know the book In Cold Blood
Yeah.
by Truman Capote.
The what?
It's about by Truman Capote.
Right.
It's about a murder in Garden City, Kansas. Is that right? Garden City, Kansas, the Clutter family. And I had a friend in college who was from there, and he said up until then, nobody locked their house.
Right.
After that, everybody locked their house.
Right. Yeah.
There's
There's certain events that literally change everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Loss of innocence.
yeah, it is a lot. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Um, so yet again, you're proving the point that in talking about distribution of work between you and your wife, that the the 8,000 reasons why it's good to be married. As a single guy, I've often wondered how my life would be different if I had a partner. Period. Just because
Mhm.
I really do believe, and in the world of business, we call it synergy. 1 + 1 = 3. And I really do believe in synergy. And I admire your marriage in the sense that you guys did make it work, and probably my favorite thing I did in all time in speech was written by your wife. So the choral reading that we went to Allstate on, that I just so want to have a tape again. I know there's a tape out there somewhere of us doing it. I want that tape. Um, you know, so again, I think you were very lucky on that. What else? I don't want to belabor this point, but like, what else do you want to say about what the burden was on you? And I also like your point on English teachers. One of the things that I hate reading people's papers, and in the sense that badly written is just I don't have a good way. I can't teach writing. I've never been taught how to teach writing. I don't know how to teach writing. I consider myself incredibly lucky because we did have great English teachers at Benton Community, and so all 4 years I was incredibly lucky. Um, so I know how to write, but I don't know how to teach how to write.
Well,
And
that stuff, I think it's being taught better now because subbing in middle school, as I did in English classes, um, they were doing some stuff that I did. So I guess I did some things right, but I don't know that I was taught how to teach writing when I was in college. So you kind of do how you were taught becomes how you teach,
right,
right? You are what you were when.
right.
Um, I think it's developed, and they were doing some things which I was doing, but they actually were codifying it more, putting it into papers, into worksheets to walk students through the process. Because I was pretty left brain about teaching speech organizationally, which was, the typical 5 paragraph theme. That's a pretty lockstep way to do it. But I always said, as a teacher, you learn to do that. You learn to what the rules are and you follow the rules, and then you learn to break them. Picasso didn't necessarily start out painting as abstractly. He probably started out painting more traditionally and then developed his own way of doing it. And I think that's the way with writing. You start out doing that. I think we were taught, and you're probably bothered as much as I was, a lot of what we did as students when we were learning to teach writing, at least my education, which um, didn't emphasize how to teach writing as much as a lot of editing. So you taught a structure, but then you worried about editing as well. I think today they may worry less about editing because you would spend hours, editing student papers, spelling and grammar and parallelism and, agreement and all that. And it's like, it just
Yeah,
takes a lot of time. And if you can focus on other things, I worked with some writing teachers then when I was in Kennedy and Cedar Rapids that kind of focused on other things, development of idea and so forth. And so, I learned as I went, and I think there are ways to help students be better writers now. But by and large, I'm still kind of a grammar snob. I hate it when I hear people say, me and Sam are going to go. No, no, it's Sam and I, we was, no, we were. I seen, no, I saw. On and on and on, right? You know it better than me. No, better than I, because that's half a sentence. But you can do it better than me. No, you can do it better than I do. I
yeah,
is the
better than I
correct
can,
subject.
better than I'm
Yeah,
capable.
yeah,
Yeah.
better I do, better than I can, not better than me. Um, it's just how we were taught grammar. I think they still do it. I don't know that it sinks in a whole lot because I even hear news people say, "Me and Sam are going to be going to
Yeah,
New York for the next game." Right? No, no, Sam and I will go.
yeah.
So,
I
as a teacher, it's left bad habits with me being a teacher of those things.
it really bothers me when I see a news anchor make mistakes like that. It really bothers me. It bothers me way more than it should. So that's where
Yeah.
you and I have that in common. That I just think you have that 8-year-old out there that now thinks they should be saying me instead of So I'm with
Yeah.
you 100% on that.
Yeah. I
Um,
expect news anchors to use the language correctly. Use standard English, what we used to call standard English.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well.
So anyway, have we waxed poetic enough on that?
I think we have. So we tonight we're going to end. Different podcasts end with different ways of how they end, and Slate Political Gabfest does what they call cocktail chatter. And I have two topics that I want to bring up, and Mike has one. I'm gonna do my first topic, then Mike's, and we'll do my second one last. But just a brief one that I have is that tomorrow, SpaceX is going to go public. It's offering an initial public offering, and I am a total geek that I have not read all the when a company goes public, it issues what's called a prospectus, S-1 filing. SpaceX's was 300 pages long with another 100 pages of addendums to it. So I downloaded all 400 pages. I did not read it all, although it was a lot of pictures. It was not, but I mean, it's insane. It used to be when I was actually in college, prospectus was usually 15 to 20 pages. Going to 400 is beyond insane. But also insane is the valuation. So I'm putting this out here for June 11th, 2025. SpaceX is going to go public tomorrow. Elon Musk,
2026.
2026, sorry. But SpaceX is going to go public tomorrow. It's going to pop when it first opens. It's going to be valued over $2 trillion by the end of workday tomorrow. Elon Musk will be the first trillionaire the world has ever seen. And because there are certain rules that we are governed by in the business world, a year from now, it'll be worth less than half what it is tomorrow. So in other words, tomorrow, for people who follow this stuff in the social media world, I said this to my students when Snapchat went public because I said this is so Snapchat went public at a price of $18. It went up to $24 on the day of the opening. People were happy. Yay! You know, they made a good return on their first day. Yay! And then Snapchat is currently at $5. So it never from the peak on the first day, it's never reached that again. And given what's happening, given how bad the grok is, anyhow, long story short, went way too long on this. My bet is SpaceX is a terrible IPO. Went too long.
Thank you. I won't invest in it.
Anybody who gets a
I couldn't afford to.
135, good for you. Please sell. That's my only advice. Don't ride this one down. Don't do it. Okay, your topic.
Typical cocktail chatter, and that is the weather. Just to note that it's been very rainy in Iowa, in a state that's had quite a problem with drought. You said you were watching Benton County statistics and so forth. We're having so much, and one complication is that, I live at a lake, but our lake is actually a dammed up river that in 2010, the dam, and then we've talked earlier about, I wish we had some video that we could show that would replicate through the podcast here and look good and not come in with bad resolution. Anyway, we lost the lake in 2010. It is back because of a dam they built that seems to be very good for part of it. But we live at the upper end of the lake where the river first starts to make the lake. And there's a pinch point, a narrow point in the channel downstream from us a little bit. So this wonderful weather means that I've been watching very carefully the river flow, the height of the river at Manchester upstream from us, because when it reaches a certain height there, we have to pull our boat out of the water because it's going to flood where we are. So it's nice to have the rain. I'm pleased for the farmers because they need it, and you want them to have it at the right time. You hate to look out there and see brown cornfields. It's not good. We know it's going to be tough for the farmers this year because of input costs, right? Thanks to tariffs by the current resident of the White House. He has a title, but I don't really care to use it. The current resident, has put these tariffs on. It's driven up costs. He started this war of choice over in Iran, causing fuel prices to skyrocket, causing the price of fertilizer to go up. The farmers need a good crop. They really do. And we want weather to cooperate with that too. I wish they would just stop saying, but we still love the current resident of the White House.
Yeah.
But some of them do.
Yeah. So I have been watching closely how much rain Iowa's been getting. I've been monitoring the weather closely. All of Benton County has received 5 inches in the past 3 days, which is fantastic because it was the type of rain that's the right type of rain. A quick downpour doesn't help, but it's been a soaking rain. Everyone that I've talked to in Benton County are extremely happy. This as one of my farming friends said just before our call here, if they don't get another drop until the end of June, they're good. Like this is as perfect as a June you can have. So he's very happy. Yay. Now
it's been slow, gentle, or spaced out. It hasn't been a downpour that all runs off.
Yeah. And so my cousin lives in Dubuque, and I particularly follow Dubuque weather because I worked at the Dubuque airport for quite a while, and I love the Dubuque airport. They had in my cousin said that she was having the same vibes when she was living in Cedar Rapids during the derecho. And so I checked the Dubuque weather, and Dubuque was hitting 74 mile per hour winds. So I could understand why Tanya was getting the same vibes as derecho because she was getting some real strong straight line winds up by you there. So
and that made the news. Yeah, here that was yesterday, and we saw it. It just just kind of stirred up all of a sudden, just very rapidly, huge winds. The trees around here, we have a lot of trees on my property here. I've got about 6/10 of an acre. Yes, getting tired of mowing when I have to mow, and a lot of trees to go around. But these hickory trees were just, really whipping here across the street and so forth in the wind. Didn't last very long, luckily, but it blew through. But I know that Dubuque got it worse because they had news footage on the news, the 10 o'clock news, maybe even the 6 o'clock yesterday, of trees down in Dubuque.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they really got a nasty wind.
Um, yeah. So, but as nasty as it wasn't, it's still overall, yay. There is nobody in Iowa, I'm sure somebody is upset because some tree went down in their yard that they love, but overall, it's very good news for Iowa. Okay,
What a derecho.
yeah, compared to the derecho, anything's good. The last topic that I have for a little bit of cocktail chatter is actually tied to the fact that you used to live in Ohio, so I thought you'd find this interesting. Fox News has a poll that came out yesterday in Ohio that is got to make people in the Republican Party wake up. It has Sherrod Brown ahead of Husted by 8 points. So the long term, if there's any senator that I'd love to meet, it is Sherrod Brown because
Mhm.
he is, he was a senator while you were there, I'm sure. He is the epitome of the working class senator, and so I love
Wasn't he in, wasn't he in the House of Representatives first too?
Yeah, so he's in the House. He may have been in the House when you were there, and then he moved on to the Senate. But
Yeah.
anyhow, he got defeated in the last go around. He actually got defeated by J.D. Vance, no less, I believe. Anyhow, but it doesn't matter. He got defeated, and I want him back in the Senate, and he's up by 8 points. Yay! But there are other things that are really interesting here. 39% say that he's too liberal for Ohio, which is to be expected. And for the record, he is really liberal. I wouldn't say too liberal, but there you go. But here's what's fascinating. Even in Ohio, 45% say Husted's problem is that he's too tied to Trump. So the point being, in Ohio, it is now toxic to be connected to Trump. It's more toxic to be connected to Trump than to use the liberal word about the Democrat. Wow.
Well, Ohio's an interesting state. Remember, there used to be saying, what was it? As Ohio goes, so
So
goes the
goes the
nation.
nation.
So goes the nation. That it was purple enough that it would swing the nation, right? It wasn't one or the other. It was the one that was kind of the bellwether of what was
Yep.
happening. And then Ohio got real red. And when we moved to Cincinnati, Cincinnati was very red.
Yeah.
Southwest corner, right? Sitting on literally when my wife taught in northern Kentucky at a high school not too far from the airport there, because the Cincinnati airport is in Kentucky, in northern Kentucky. If traffic was bad on I-75, she'd drive through 3 states to get home. She would leave Kentucky, drive on 275 into Indiana, and follow that around over into Ohio,
Right.
and then come home because of where it sits in the state. Uh, Cincinnati has become increasingly blue. I think you might call it blue now. Sherrod Brown replaced Steve Chabot in the House of Representatives, but then lost to Chabot subsequently after maybe one term or two. I honestly can't remember because I wasn't following that closely, but it's good to know that he was there. Mike DeWine was also a senator there. I visited his office on an arts advocacy day. Um, he left the Senate, went back to Ohio to become the governor
Mhm.
before Kasich, um, or after. I know Mike DeWine has been the governor there too, as well as the senator. And yes, I would hope that Sherrod Brown would win that.
Yeah.
We need to have a blue Congress
I'm
and Senate.
I'm I I'm excited because if there's just there's certain people, again, I've never met him, but just everything that comes across about him, he just exudes that he's in it for the little guy and screw. Also, he's the trophy head that the crypto bros have held up, that they wanted him out more than anyone else. And so the fact that he was taking on the crypto bros before people knew that it was the right thing to take on the crypto bros, that's a reason to support him right there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, that's a good
Okay.
place to end that's a good place to end the recording. Um uh Bye from me.
Always a pleasure. Until next time.
Yep.